And welcome to JFP Sports, where fantasy and sports talk lives. Well, today, Puma and Ricky.P are back a week later. Definitely we have some preseason games to talk about. This is a heavy NFL football show, my friend. How are you doing, by the way?
I'm good. I know you had a draft yesterday. We want to get into that. I want to hear how yours went and give me a strategy to see how things are going, because I'm going September 4th, so I got some time. I know you have the injury bug that you guys have to worry about. So
definitely. I mean, I look at it like you just have to worry about preseason 3, because that's the big dress rehearsal. Everyone knows that. Week 4 into preseason, nobody plays. All right, that's like a Teddy Bridgewater game. Nobody's playing that, and I feel, especially in fantasy, you guys out there know it. It's hard to get everybody on the same schedule. So I was happy. Shout out to the league, the Dudes 3, all my guys out there. You know. Yesterday was a great day, and we had some great picks. But first, let's recap Week 2 in the preseason of the NFL. What did you like, Rick, and what didn't you like?
The biggest thing that I think is going to throw a wrench into all the NFL plans, Jameis Winston might have played his best game since he got into the league. I don't know if he's maybe a little more motivated now from, maybe he's starting to finally grow up, but he looked great. He looked a lot of the Florida State type of quarterback that they had originally wanted.
Do you think that Winston has a 3-game suspension? Do you think him coming back is a late season ad for a fantasy owner off the waiver wire? I mean, if you look at the matchup, some of them are tough, but there's some that are in there. Like you could probably say, maybe you got a shot. Atlanta, is in there. You got Carolina, maybe, get some yardage. What do you think? Late season ad, or you're not touching them till you?
I think I need to see. Well, let me backtrack. Who was my quarterback? I was looking at some of your results, and you'll jump into it, obviously. But some teams had 2 quarterbacks, some didn't. So if you're a team with 2 quarterbacks, I don't think this is even an issue. If you're a team with a quarterback that might be like an Andrew Luck, I saw one of the teams had Andrew Luck. You'll be able to touch on it, but he's someone that you might, with his injuries, his shoulder issues, you might want to take a flyer on him. I mean, if nothing else, you might be able to get him and then maybe try to trade him for a
ship him off, right?
Right, maybe for I think realistically he could be like a 5th or 6th rounder type of for next year if that's the way you play your league. Other than that, I don't
Plus,
think he's
I like
a starter.
Luck because just for the mere fact of I like to go on as a fantasy.
Well, that was just an example.
Right. I like to go on a fantasy as a fantasy owner on the tidbit of get the quarterback that has the worst defense. Why? Because game script will say they are always coming back and they have to constantly throw. And nothing's better than garbage time points, my friend. Nothing is better. That could win you a championship.
No, and that's something that Winston could definitely provide. And that's one of the reasons that I said Mitch Trubisky, that was my biggest thing against him, that they're going to constantly be losing, at least with that division that currently is constructed. I just don't see some of those playmakers like the Jordan Howards and Cohens. It's a team that they're going to have to throw the ball, and I don't know if Trubisky is that Pat Mahomes type of guy, Carson Wentz type of guy to get stuff done in Chicago. But no, back to the original question you asked. I think Winston could be a late-round flyer, but I wouldn't have him try to save my season.
No. I actually won a fantasy championship with Mr. Famous Jameis Winston, 2016.
We must have had a stacked team around him.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I had Ezekiel Elliott as a rookie and Mike Evans when he had that big year of 175 targets.
So you were getting the double whammy.
Yo, absolutely.
And I'm not the biggest fan of that. I've had Rodgers and Jordy Nelson before, and obviously it's helped, but God forbid you run into a week 14, 15, 16 matchup, and at the time they're playing, I don't know, a Vikings defense of last year, and they struggle, or they happen to be ahead and they're not throwing the ball, all of a sudden, it's very difficult to overcome something like that. You need them to really be good 3 weeks in a row.
Well, it's funny that you bring up the Vikings, because my guy that got my look, he got my attention, was Mr. Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, you guys out there who know me, you know I am very high on this stud. All right, by the way, his birthday is November 2nd. Mine is November 5th. I just want to throw that out there. And, same year. Also, too, Jimmy Garoppolo, 10 of 12 yesterday, 136 yards, 11.3 on average, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The interception was a fluke. It was a batted ball, tip drill type of deal.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the interceptions.
But he looked good, Rick. I mean, just the way he flows through the pocket, it just reminds me of a mini Brady. Just the smoothness of his mechanics. I guess because he came from New England and he was like Brady's apprentice for 2 seasons or so, 2.5 seasons. I feel that Garoppolo is going to take the league by storm, and you could possibly say the $137 million, the 49ers got away with a discount.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that quite yet. I think
I know a lot of naysayers out there will say, "Oh, it's 5 games. It's 7 games."
Right. That's my concern. I'm not saying he doesn't have the promise, but I think we need to pump the brakes on him. There's film on him. I know he had some film coming out of New England, but that was the Belichick. We're just gonna kind of dink and dunk, get it to Gronk,
he made Matt Castle look good.
Right. I think Castle went 12-4 that year.
11-5, but
11-5, but that was the year Brady shredded his knee in Game 1.
Yes, against the Kansas City.
Against
Chiefs.
the Chiefs, right? And everyone thought that it was pretty much over for them. And Castle stepped right in, who I always thought was a decent backup quarterback. I don't think he's
Jets fans. Brett Favre, loser.
Well, he would have been great for the Jets. Meanwhile, if they over some of the guys they've had, but he definitely someone who stuck out. Someone who also stuck out for the wrong reasons. I think Kirk Cousins is.
You didn't like what Kirk did. Week 1 wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad, and Week 2 was worse than Week 1 for sure. I've never been a Kirk Cousins guy
I'm in the same boat.
For the amount of turnovers that he creates / allows to happen, the interceptions, the fumbles, he doesn't make up for enough with his good plays. So there are some games where I'm like, this is a franchise guy, and there are other games where I look at it and I say, I wish Alex Smith was that quarterback for Washington, and it's ironic that Alex Smith is the quarterback for Washington. News coming out today that Adrian Peterson will sign a 1-year deal. Don't have any details on what that contract's going to look like, but
nice little ad there.
I
like that.
I think you're paying for the name at this point more than the actual production because he dropped just a little over 3 yards a carry, and unless you're going for it on 4th down, 3 Adrian Peterson runs based off the yards above replacement with another guy. Unfortunately, it's not going to be Darius Geis, but it's not going to get it done. He's not the same guy, obviously, but it's a nice little ad. They're devoid of weapons down there in Washington. Realistically, I think that's probably the worst team in the division anyway, so give Adrian Peterson a shot.
For me, who I'm down about, Jets fans, Terrell Pryor. All right, this guy hasn't even gotten on the field yet. Then, a week and a half ago, he's having a fight in a scrimmage against his old teammates with the Redskins. What is that? You have to mature, move on. Yes, you were on that team. Yeah, they want to say you suck. You didn't do well. Well, you know what? You got a nice contract. You got $4 or $5 million. Put it to bed and show people what you could do. Because right now, I feel like he's got to get over these injuries if he has any, quotation, and get out there and stop the talking. Let's just put your actions forth.
Yeah, no, and speaking of putting actions forward, I don't know if you got a chance to watch Brady versus the Eagles. Yeah. I've got 2 points.
Was he mad?
One, I don't know why he was out there as much as he was. He was almost out. I think he was out there for the entire first half. That's a little too much for me.
Yeah, I don't mind
unless he told Bill I'm playing the entire first half, which in that point,
I think Brady holds such a chip on his shoulder. He doesn't care if they were playing golf against the Eagles.
Right? No,
he wants to get them.
No, he wanted. I think this was a statement that he pretty much said, no matter what happened last year, I personally hung 38 on you. They lost 41-38. So it wasn't Brady's doing. It wasn't a Giants 17-14 where you could look at him and say what happened, when they were big favorites versus the Giants. Not once, but twice.
Right.
Especially when I think that might have been the best offense in the history of football, the one with Randy Moss. But no, he had a personal vendetta, it looked like the other night, and he really, really took that Eagles team to work. Now, granted, I know Nick Foles, he got hurt, and he should be okay. Obviously, no Wentz, and they were taking it easy, and Nate Sudfeld came in and did what a third-string quarterback is supposed to do and stink up the joint. But Brady just looks like he's ready. I think 41 now, he looks ready.
How about my boy Johansson taking Tom Brady in the 6th round yesterday. You know what I was saying when he was putting the sticker on? I'm like, good for you, because I could never do that. You know what I mean?
You can never take Brady?
No. I'm one of those.
Well, is it because you're a Jet fan, or is it because you don't know when that cliff is going to hit?
Can I say a little bit of both? Because, yes, I am a Jet fan, and I am waiting for another Mo Lewis hit on him so we could have our reign. But other than that, I feel like when is Father Time going to catch up? And I don't want to be the one left with the seat.
Well, I think that's the
without a seat.
I think that's the big question.
When is it going to hit? Because this is a preseason game.
No, it is. But you've got to look. Word out of that camp is Sony Michel is struggling mightily.
Wow, his stock is down.
Yeah. James White seems to be having a good camp. Rex Burkhead seems to be having a pretty good camp. But anyone out there who's thinking Sony Michel is the next LeGarrette Blount or Corey Dillon or whoever Patriot fans want to bring up, not happening.
Is that the worst running back situation in fantasy? In
fantasy,
from a reality of a football standpoint, if I'm an offensive coordinator, I'm licking my chops.
Right, because you have those scat backs that Brady loves to get the ball to.
I could pull Sony, and Jets fans, you're going to see this all day long. You're going to pull Sony out of the backfield, put him in the slot, right on Buster's screen, and he's going to catch rub routes. He's going to catch shallow crash.
I don't even think he's playing. As of right now, Sony Michel's not.
No, I think he's going to be situational McCaffrey-like, and then they'll just keep running a Rex Burkhead and a James White.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that, but
he's scary. I know right now it doesn't look
well against the Jets. What running back isn't scary?
Right, and now they want to ask me why I watch the red zone over the Jets sometimes.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I was sitting there today and I was scrolling through some of my channels before we started the show, and Red Zone doesn't do any programming, obviously, right now. So, it always says, paid programming or whatever. Right. And I was looking at it, and I'm like, as a Raven fan, I don't get the games here in New York.
So that's beneficial.
You get Jets, Giants, or whatever the 4 o'clock or the national game of the week is.
Most likely the Cowboys.
Right. Usually the Cowboys or maybe the Packers or a Broncos, something out west.
A historic team.
Hopefully we see maybe Jimmy G. I'd love to see that.
Oh, God. Puma's watching.
Yeah, but no, I was watching, I'm thinking of Red Zone, and it got me going. It got me on the point that if you don't have Red Zone, invest the $10 a month. But besides the others,
and no commercials.
Besides the other sports channels that you get, I'm a big horse racing guy.
Yeah.
I love. There are a few channels that I watch specifically. But if you're a football guy, invest in the $10 a month, please. And even if you want to stop it at the end of February, fine, and then keep adding it again come football season. But for the $60, 6 months, free NFL advertising right here. Please get it.
Right, now I'm advertising for the Red Zone.
Yeah, no, it was just.
No, I know.
I happened to go through it. It got me going into football.
I know some people. I love the people that say, "Well, they don't have commercials. How could you watch something constantly? You can't even go to the bathroom." I'm like, that's great. I have. You people are gonna think I'm nuts. I have 3 TVs on a Sunday from 1 o'clock on.
You have 3 TVs all in the same room?
No, in different rooms. So I have one in the living room.
Oh, okay,
I have one in the bedroom, and I have one in my other office space where I work out and stuff on. So that way, if I were to go to each room, I would have something playing, and I have it on loud. So even when I'm going to the bathroom, I'm in the game. If that makes any sense.
No, yeah.
And I take the phone with me.
And I'm the same way. I've got a laptop set up. The main TV's on Red Zone. I've got my laptop usually for a Raven game and some sort of tablet for fantasy.
But it's tough for like a fan like the Raven. I mean, aren't you better off with like a DirecTV season ticket?
I am, but
package?
it's the spectrum that my building has. You have the same thing.
Well, I have Fios.
Right, you have Fios.
They give us the option.
Okay,
but it's the same kind of thing.
Right, I don't have an option. I would probably opt for DirecTV, but you know what? The way you could get access some of these things now,
streaming.
I get a chance to watch.
And that's what the world, the millennial world, is about now, streaming. And that's why all these cable companies, they're saying football's down. Well, everything else is down because you know what? I could watch something on this little phone that I have. You're streaming our show on a YouTube channel. There's so many different outlets that you don't need to have a TV.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not the biggest football guy in terms of showing up. I'll do it once or twice a season. If I could watch the Ravens up in person more often, I would. But being from New York, I don't have a real need to go to a Jets or Giants game. They've played the Ravens there once, and I've done that. But sometimes just watching in the comfort of your own home, especially here in New York when it can be snowing at the end of November, I enjoy it personally. Maybe if we were in Miami or in Dallas with a dome, that's different. But all right, enough about Red Zone.
Yeah.
Tell me how your draft went.
Well, it was superb. The dudes, as we call ourselves, our third year we had a great draft. Prior to the draft, because we have a keeper league, it's a PPR, and I was going to keep Ezekiel Elliott and Mike Evans. And I said to myself, you know what? And we had many of talks, I said, I can't bear keeping a Mike Evans because in the fantasy world and even in the reality world of football, 3 weeks is a lot. If you start out 0-3, you're not looking good.
And this is not a knock on Mike Evans. This is a knock on the situation that he's in.
The situation of, look at all the elements at hand. You got Ryan Fitzpatrick. So what does that tell you? We're probably going to go a little run heavy. We're going to try to control the clock. We have new pass rushers. We're going to try to keep close to the vest. 2 is Winston loves throwing to Mike Evans. Winston is not there. 3 is you got Deshaun Jackson. You got O.J. Howard. You got Cameron Brate. You got Godwin from Penn State, who I think is a major sleeper.
And a new toy in Ronald Jones.
And a new toy in the Texas Tesla, Ronald Jones. So with all these elements, people like to say, well, they got a lot of weapons. Yeah, for fantasy-wise, it kills me because now there's other options. I loved it in 2016 when it was Mike Evans, and Mike Evans. I never forget that Thursday night game against the Falcons. He caught a ball that was beautiful, and he got jacked up, like they used to call it, Chris Berman. He got jacked up. But anyway, so that was my option. And then I said to myself, you know what? There's someone in my league that's looking to get rid of Alvin Kamara. I had 2 third-round picks, and I said, how about if I give you the 2 third-round picks, I move back a little bit, and I'll take Kamara off your hands. He gave them to me. So my 2 keepers going into it was Alvin Kamara and Ezekiel Elliott. I had 2 first-round picks because I dealt the year before Leonard Fournette, and I got the number 2 and the number 9th pick in the first round.
Before we actually dive in, I obviously I wasn't there, but before
it was a scene though. It was a scene.
Yeah, before I make any sort of comment, for you fantasy owners out there, whatever league you're in, whether you're the commissioner or not, try to incentivize your other your other co-owners or the rest of you guys in your league for the next year. And we didn't really talk about this before Puma started, going over his thing, but he's talking about trading picks for the next season.
Right.
So if you're struggling, you're not just not setting a good lineup and you're not just giving up, whether it's for money or not. Have some pride. I'm not saying, if you're in 9th place out of 10th, you got to be doing as much work as the first place team, but try to sell your assets off.
To make a better future.
Every team has a player or 2 that could help someone else. I guarantee it. There's no team that's that bad. And if you are that bad, you shouldn't be in the league.
And you know what it is? It basically comes down to pride. You know what I mean? It's like saying, well, I don't like this person. I don't want them to win. But you know what the deal is? The whole deal is get the better package for yourself first.
Right,
whoever gives the better package for the following year, that player goes to. Forget about your pride. That's why God made a champion every year.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I mean, people are getting crazy that the Yankees might not make it. They're not going to win it. Okay, well, that's why they play next year too.
Yeah, no, right, exactly. I'm not.
I know it's a glim way of looking at it, but realistically,
but it goes the other way too. If you have for example, say Puma doesn't have a great season and Alvin Kamara is still having a fantastic year, don't just give him away to your best friend for an 8th round pick.
No.
That's not fair to the league. It's not fair to yourself. You're basically giving him away for nothing. You might as well just drop him and hope no one sees it at that point. You realistically do what's right for the league.
Right.
I know both of our leagues have you can veto a trade. At least in I shouldn't speak for you, but in my league you can veto a trade. It's got to be 100% that goes through. And most of the time it does because there's a reason that a trade is announced or proposed. So we've never had an issue like that. Have you had an issue where a trade's been
Well, I know in our
questionable?
baseball league we have a veto, but in football we do not have a veto because we hold people to a accountability. So if you think that trade is fair enough, by all means. Now, it has to be something outrageous for me to get involved. Like if I were to ship Elliott for a 10th round pick and I'm just trying to help my buddy out, then I know that there's some sort of
there's
collusion.
Something right, or maybe money on the side is being exchanged. But other than that,
we hold ourselves in this league to a high standard, so you should make a high standard decision.
So I took a look at the results. You obviously know what the results are. You give me one takeaway, and I'll bounce back, and then I'll give you one takeaway. Okay. You bounce back. Okay. What's your biggest takeaway? And it can't be from your team. Biggest takeaway
from the draft.
From the draft, whether it was you saw a trend or you saw, a certain guy doing something that you hadn't thought about. What is your takeaway or something that you can give me? Because I haven't gone yet. I still have 2 more weeks or so.
That my biggest rival.
Names will not be disclosed. So your biggest rival.
My biggest rival. He knows that I love these 2 players. So what does he do? He has back-to-back picks. And
what were the picks? Where was he picking?
He was picking actually the 2 picks I gave him for Kamara in the 3rd round.
Okay, so they were they close to each other?
Back to back.
So they were back to back. Okay.
They were back to back.
So he knew he was picking okay.
And he knows I need a tight end. So what does he do? He takes Travis Kelce and Zach Ertz. And I know he does that purposely because he knows. He goes, Puma, after the draft, you're going to call me anyway to make a trade. So I might as well take him and get something out of it, which is the right move to do because the whole basis of fantasy and doing it with your friends is, you know what? You have to know your opponents. You have to know their clicks. You have to know what they like, what they don't like. Things that will make them jump. So, I mean, it didn't bother me. It bothered me because, okay, listen, like who takes 2 tight ends back to back?
Well, it's. Did you read my notes? Because 2 things. One, I've always been a big in fantasy football to have a premier tight end is a crown jewel.
Right.
To have 2 of them puts you in an elite level. So 2 points because that was my biggest takeaway. I also saw the same thing. Someone got 2 tight ends. I saw you got OJ Howard at the very end.
Yeah.
And he's, I think, we could agree, more of a boomer bust type of guy. You might start with him, but you're hoping to get someone else, I assume, before the season starts.
Just to let you guys know, the show airs tomorrow, so I'm going to pick up Ostafarian Jenkins. Beat it.
Yeah.
Because let's just be honest. I wasn't thinking at the moment, but I'm like, Jesus, Howard is going against New Orleans. They're not the old New Orleans. And
Ostafarian, they're better.
Yeah, and Ostafarian's going against a Giants team that was ranked number 1 in giving tight ends points.
So you might be a plug and play week by week type of guy for now, unless maybe you could acquire one of these tight ends or maybe someone. Remember who was the guy on the Giants? I forgot. A few years ago, he went Larry Donnell.
So you might. He was like Mr. Thursday Night Starter. Right. He would always perform on a big game.
He even quoted himself as saying, I didn't start myself in my own fantasy.
Right.
But that was also
Redskins.
But back to takeaways, that was my biggest takeaway too. 2 tight ends. We'll go by the PPR ESPN league. Whatever you use, I'm sure you have 1 tight end spot, 1 flex spot.
Right. We have Yahoo, but yes.
Sure. Right. Obviously, one of those tight ends. I believe it was Kelce and Ertz.
Yes, Kelce and Ertz.
Whether you play Kelce in the tight end or Kelce in the flex, obviously that doesn't matter. But you have 2 premier pass catchers, both. I mean, but Mahomes is going to Kelce, so that's a little bit of a new mix. But Ertz will still have 1. That was my biggest takeaway, too. Last year I had Zach Ertz and Rob Gronkowski, and I was thinking to myself the entire time, let me try to trade Ertz. Or let me try to trade Gronk. Gronk might get hurt. I'm sitting in myself. I'm in the championship game, and I'm looking at week by week, like, how did I get there type of thinking.
Right.
They were in my starting lineup together every single week, and I didn't make a trade.
You had Ertz and Gronkowski.
I had Ertz and Gronkowski.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And I had a lot of
But it has to be those top 3 guys to actually
make an impact.
Logical, make an impact. Yes. If you're doubling up on OJ Howard and Kelce, then I'm looking at you like
it's not that that big of a deal. We've talked about we say Gronk. We've agreed Gronk, Ertz and Kelsey are in an elite tier of their own.
Because they get so much volume that it's actually better than some receivers.
And I personally believe Trey Burton can emerge into that group. We don't. He did a lot of good things in Philly. Now we don't know if that was he helped out when Ertz. I played Trey Burton every single game that Zach Ertz wasn't there.
Me too. Yeah.
So I don't know if Trey Burton will be able to replicate that with Trubisky. I don't know if it was a Philadelphia thing or a Chicago thing. But no, that was my biggest takeaway too. The 2 tight ends.
Yeah. Wow. Also too, another takeaway was the same guy. His last pick is Devontae Booker. And
the kid from the Broncos.
Right. And
the running back. Okay.
Yeah, and he had a lot of picks, obviously. And his last pick is the 7th round. Now, in our league, the 7th round is bump it up by 2.
So it's really a 9th round.
It's really a 9th round. Okay. I don't even think I would have spent a 13th round pick on Devontae Booker. Now, he might get some...
That is pretty early. I'm trying to. I don't have the picture in front of me, so I'm trying to mentally picture it.
I think he was just playing of the game of the haves and the have-nots of just stacking on running backs. Because if you see,
was Royce Freeman still available at the time?
He took Royce Freeman as well. Any young running back you could think of, this guy took. His name is Running Back Factory.
So he's trying.
If you look at his draft. He has Naheem Hines.
The kid on the Colts.
Then he goes, Sony Michel. Then he goes, what's the other one? Oh, my God. He was, like, every guy that came out in the draft class was going to this team.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to I'm taking a look right here. No, he does have a lot of...
Where it says the 8th pick.
Right, no, he's got a lot of running backs. I mean... I don't understand. He could have gotten a guy like Nick Chubb ahead of him, a Ty Montgomery.
The Tevin Coleman one, I don't mind. But then again, these are all backups.
Bilal Powell. I mean, there are a lot of guys.
The only guy on here that I could really count on, other than a Barkley, that has some track record, is suspended for 4 games, which is Mark Ingram.
Yeah, no, that's a little high. But you know what? What if... God forbid, what if Devontae Booker really does hit it off? I don't think that's going to be the case, and luckily...
His fingers are like butterfingers.
Right. I don't think you think it's the case either. But again, I just took a look at the results. It's ironic we kind of had the same takeaway, and I think it really speaks to, if you're listening, it really speaks to...
how loud those moves were.
Yeah. That and how much we agree on... I'm not trying to brag, and Puma doesn't either. But I've been in a legit fantasy league 5 times. I have 2 titles.
Right.
I've missed a playoff once. I've won 68% of my games.
Yeah.
Puma, on the other hand, has also won. I think it's multiple fantasy titles.
Yeah, I've won 2 in the past 5 years.
Right. He's two for that's 40%, which means you're making money. Forget about just having fun. You're also making money. So we're not telling you what to do, but we're giving you advice that we think is not only going to help us, but we think is valuable. So I think the biggest takeaway, if you can get one of those premier tight ends in a logical spot, that doesn't mean go up in the 4th round to get 2, depending on your keeper situation. But look out for those guys, or look out for a tight end that you really think will get a lot of volume.
I think the biggest steal was my buddy, the co-commissioner of our league. He's the assistant. He got Carson Wentz in the 11th round.
Does he have another quarterback?
No, that's it. I mean, he might be streaming maybe for the first 1 or 2 weeks, but to get Carson Wentz could have been the MVP in the 10th round.
He'll have to stream. I think Carson.
Maybe 1.
I don't think
1 week.
Well,
but look at the value.
No, there's great value there. Again, it's ironic. This is another point that we brought up. Puma is a big risk, big reward type of guy.
I mean, you could just look at my quarterbacks. I have Jimmy Garoppolo, and his backup is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, no, I'm on the other hand. Give me an Alex Smith. I will take the 15 points every day of the week. Puma and I had talked about this before. I think there's a quarterback, 2 running backs in my league. This is 2 wide receivers, a tight end, which is 6, a flex, which is 7, a defense/special teams is 8, and a kicker is 9 spots. If you give me realistically 12 to 15 points every week from every spot, That's on average.
You're looking good.
That's
safe. That's safe. Yeah,
right. Yeah. And that's safe. And I assume that I'm going to be able to get 120 points every week, which is PPR.
I'm a gambler.
I will take the I will take the opportunity. I will say, here's my 120 to 130 points. If you can top that, congratulations. On the other hand, Puma might be going for 150, 160 based on his scoring. I'm assuming. I'm just going to, for the sake of the argument, say it's the same. But he might also produce an 80-point week, and you might catch him on a bad week. If you catch him on a hot week, good luck to the other owners, because it's not going to work out for you.
Right.
So I think it's contrasting styles, but they both work, right?
Right, absolutely. I mean, listen, the whole point of this is, you're an owner, and you run your franchise the way you would want to run your franchise in the real world. And, listen, I'm more of a risk taker. Rick's more of a safe better. But in the end, our journey and our goal is the same, is to win.
Right, and I think that's what makes fantasy so much fun. There's
so many opportune different routes you could go.
Right, and I've had co-owners. I have one in our fantasy baseball league, and I've had one in football before, and I won't take a co-owner that doesn't have the same philosophy as me.
Right. Because then we're gonna
conflict.
Like you and I would. There's some things that we mostly agree upon, but I have a feeling like Ricky makes a great friend. But if we're making a choice, we're probably going to butt heads, and that's okay.
Yeah, no, and again, I don't care what league you're in, whether it's for fun or not, if you're winning 2 out of 5, continue to do what you're doing.
Right.
I don't care if you're drafting kickers in the first round. Continue to do what you're doing.
Right. That was like the kid I was teammates with last year. I'd never do it again. I would cry to Ricky every night. He told me, "Why are you picking up Deshaun Watson and Will Fuller?" And I was like, but this is when Deshaun Watson made that start in Cincinnati. I was like, I see something. I think he could really be good. And the thing about having running quarterbacks is you're getting that dual threat of rushing yards and passing yards. So I said, let's give it a try. He's going against Tennessee. Well, what happened? He put up a 40 spot, and he put up 35 of it to Will Fuller.
Yeah, no, I ended up picking up Deshaun Watson. He carried me for as long as until he got hurt. So we were on you. I think you caught him probably a week or two, maybe before my league caught him. But
the test for me was when he went up against New England.
And he did very well. Very
I think he had like 26, 28 points. Mm-hmm. But to get that against a Bill Belichick team and looking like a seasoned pro, that spoke volumes to me, and I think he's going to be a great talent in this.
Yeah, as long as he can stay healthy. Before we hit our AFC West predictions.
Yes, today is the West.
Let's go to sleepers.
Okay.
Who is, after your draft, from what you've been reading, whether it was a guy who was drafted, whether it was a guy you flagged in your league, you wrote down you're going to keep paying attention to, who is your guy that maybe he's not going to break out right away, but maybe as the season goes on, this offense gets hot. Maybe it's even a defense. Defense gets hot. Who's your guy that you're looking at?
Well, talking about my guy. You know the song's My Girl. So my guy of the draft was the biggest sleeper who I said to myself, I'm going to go into this draft, and some people might know his name, some people might know his name, but I'm going to have him. And the guy that I got was Christian Kirk in the 12th round. Now, Christian Kirk is opposite of Larry Fitzgerald in Arizona, okay? I see the sky's the limit for this kid. He has a OBJ-type body.
That was my next question. Who is his player comp?
And I had said to my other friend, I said, he's a poor man's OBJ, but I think the best comp for him is Jarvis Landry.
That's a great comp.
Over the middle, slot guy. He's going to take Larry Fitz's position. They're going to move Larry Fitz back to the outside.
Where he should be.
Where he should be. But you put a kid like this who has that burst, Ricky, I'm telling you, I've never been so sure on a player. This kid's going to be a star. I'm telling you.
Well, just for fantasy owners, for listeners, the last sure pick he had was Darius Stewart from the Jets from Alabama.
No, wait. I did not say he was a sure thing. I said
you liked him.
I liked him, but I love Christian Kirk.
This is not a knock necessarily on Darius Stewart as your quarterback situation.
I got to hear about it. One guy that I picked.
Darius Stewart, if you catch wind of this, you probably won't.
Oh, God, here we go.
It's not a knock on you necessarily because your quarterbacks at Alabama are probably better than your quarterbacks have been for the Jets.
Right.
That's including
until now.
That's including Blake Sims and Jalen Hurts and all these other guys, all these other Alabama quarterbacks that don't do anything other than A.J. McCarron. But no, I agree. Back to your player. I agree. Christian Kirk stood out to me
And you watch college, you know this. And
I've been a big Christian Kirk
too,
guy.
bro.
He might get you the occasional. I'm sure your league isn't set up like this. You don't get punt return yards. You only get points if he scores a touchdown.
And this defense special teams of that player.
Right.
Like say if you had Arizona's D/ST,
right, you'll get
you're
points
gonna
for
get
the touchdown.
that point.
But you won't get points for the yardage. You'll only get points for that touchdown.
You'll get
correct.
6. Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like you have to praise the owner who took a chance and took a punt returner. Now, granted, you're not going to rely on that, but it's a nice little.
It's nice to know that before your team even gets the ball, he might
take one deep.
It's ironic because I've heard before I get into why I love Christian Kirk. I completely agree with Mr. Puma. Dante Pettis, the kid out of Washington, he I believe he holds the record for punt return touchdowns in a career.
In Pac-12 or in
Washington? In all of NCAA D1.
Whoa.
Dante Pettis, now I don't believe he's nearly as talented as Christian Kirk, but it's nice to know that before an offense hits the field, he might give you 6 points. He might go to the bathroom and you might have a +6.
I've had that happen before.
You assume he's not going to have -2 if he fumbles the football. Hope not. Even if he takes a fair catch, it's better than the -2.
Right.
But it's nice to know you might get a little bonus. I first saw Christian Kirk, not this past season, 2 seasons ago, lit it up all season. And last year was one of my players to watch.
And I think the best receiver that was coming out of this draft. I mean, you could make a case for Calvin Ridley.
I'll take Calvin Ridley.
DJ Moore. I'll
take Calvin Ridley, but I understand where you're coming from.
Right, he's more possession.
He is more. I think Calvin Ridley reminds me more of a Julio Jones in terms of. I think he might be more I think Christian Kirk might be your more slot-ish type of guy.
Right. But that's where the league is heading.
I completely agree. It's a lot of these smaller guys. The Julio Jones, Calvin Johnson seem to be a little bit fading out, more or less to Larry Fitzgerald. Right. Antonio Brown is a smaller guy, realistically, who plays on the outside.
But he could play the slot. Imagine Antonio Brown.
Odell Beckham, smaller guy, lightning speed, also plays on the outside. But imagine these guys in the slot. And 10 years ago, he was paired with a Randy Moss or was paired with a Terrell Owens or was paired with a Larry Fitzgerald, these guys would be in the slot. Right. They might be on the outside in a Y, but they'd probably be in a slot at least coming into the league.
And it's so, for fans out there, I know some are knowledgeable and some, obviously you don't get the whole technique of, when you're in the slot, you're mostly the Z, which is you're paired up on a nickel corner. And when you're running your route, you're probably going to end up on either a safety or a linebacker through the middle. So the whole thing about this game and sports in general is mismatches. And the biggest mismatch is that slot receiver. The outside guys, the X and the Y. Right.
You're going to get the top 2 cornerbacks.
Right. You're going to get the top 2 guys. What's his name? Keep Talib. You're going to get a Marcus Peters. You're going to get guys like that who can possibly shut you down. So that's basically on hand technique, speed, like a Tyreek Hill, OBJ, home run speed.
Antonio Brown, guys
like that. But for those little guys, Emmanuel Sanders, Christian Kirk, Jarvis Landry, Golden Tate.
John Brown in Baltimore.
I know. The Brown brothers.
We talked about
Jerron. And then you got a Golden Tate. Oh, I'm sorry, Adam Thielen. I got a feeling for Adam Thielen. Those guys like that are making a career over the middle. And why don't people like to go over the middle? Because it's the dirty job. You're going to get hit. You're probably going to get hit hard because there's a guy that's bigger than you, even though you mismatch him, and you're going to catch the ball over his head. You get ready to get whacked.
Well, ask Danny Amendola what that's done for his career.
But
over the middle.
But you see, it's like everybody that goes to New England. All of a sudden, he...
Right. Well, real quick before I get to my guy, Christian Kirk really made an impression. They were playing UCLA. I don't know if you remember. They were up, I think, they were up by about 35 points, and they lost. Now, that was when the Josh Rosen show came along. He led them back. It was probably the best game of the season, other than the Alabama-Georgia title game. That was probably the best game of the season, just in terms of excitement.
Right.
And Christian Kirk put on a show. My guy, I'm going to give you one sleeper.
You're not going to sing for us?
No.
Okay.
Of course not. You don't want to hear my voice. My singing voice. One guy is a guy who, real quick, I'll give you my 1B sleeper first. Kerryon Johnson.
The War Eagle.
Yeah. He was the first guy that's got explosiveness as a scat back catching, but I also think he could run between the tackles. They've had guys like Joy Bell and
even with LeGarrette the Blunt in there.
Yeah, no, I think he's more of that goal. He might be a touchdown vulture.
Right.
But I love
very good for standards.
Yeah, I think Kerryon Johnson is a playmaker. He's better than Amir Abdullah. Amir Abdullah.
I remember he had a game against Alabama once. He was
he's been really. He was really good with Nick Marshall, Jared Stidham, who came over from Baylor. He's been good with a pass-happy quarterback, which Matt Stafford is.
Yeah.
So he's my 1B sleeper. My 1A sleeper who put up pretty good numbers next year, and you're going to love this guy, Mr. Goodwin, wide receiver for the
Jimmy
49ers.
G.
I don't know if he's necessarily a sleeper, and my reason he's a sleeper is not because of what he showed last year. I think, and this I'm going to say it proudly, I say he finishes with top 10 wide receiver yards. Now,
wow.
Yes. I believe that Jimmy G and his team will not be able to stop a lick on defense. And I believe that Jimmy G will be able to light up other teams.
Which goes to my point that the game script of, you guys out there, you could do what you want. I feel everyone's so hyped up about Kirk Cousins. Oh, now he's got a better team.
I think they're going to try to run the ball.
They're going to try to run the ball, establish the run, give it to – and you know what? You know who I took in the 13th round? Latavius Murray. You know why? Because he's the bruiser, and Dalvin Cook is injury-prone.
Yeah,
what happens if he goes down?
Then you've got a great value in Latavius Murray. And Latavius Murray is one of those guys that if you see someone, if he's not producing and you see someone who might be producing or who has a better outlook, you can easily drop him. You're not going to knock yourself or something like that. I just think Marquise Goodwin, again, he showed me I had him last year towards the end of the season, especially when Jimmy G got there. A ton of talent. The kid out of Texas never had a true quarterback to get him the ball. I think he's going to explode.
Imagine Jimmy G with like a Mike Evans. Oh, God. He has like no talent there.
I think
they need that one big boy.
They do. I know they like Trent Taylor a lot. They like Goodwin a lot. They lost Carlos Hyde.
Yeah.
They lost Carlos Hyde. I think they're really ready to give the keys up to this kid.
Yeah.
And you're a big Jimmy G guy. I want to wait and see.
I have his poster in my locker.
Locker where at your place of work or
at my place of work
okay.
In my locker where I keep my work clothes, but I definitely just to remind me Jimmy GQ.
I'm not as high right away on him. I want to see if it's a New England thing. I think before we even get to the AFC West, I think being in New England, when we look at his career,
trained him well.
If it is in Pro Bowl, perennial Pro Bowl or Hall
they'll
of
look like
Fame
idiots
season,
for giving him up.
I will never say that because because Tom Brady says he's going to play another 3-4 years. If that's the case, Jimmy G will have eventually walked. And the way he played in New England, his value was at its highest then. If he continues to sit, it's just years of him doing nothing.
You would never give the franchise tag to a backup quarterback.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely not. And Brady's not one of those guys to take a ton of money. He never has been. He's the Tim Duncan of the NFL.
That's why I said that.
You can't pay Jimmy G more than you could pay Brady just to have him sit there. You can't.
I know. It's a lose-lose situation.
And you had to get rid of him. You had to. Because he would have walked for nothing. So
if they would have kept him another couple of months, they would have got a first for him.
Right. They might have, but we wouldn't have seen the San Francisco Jimmy G.
Right. But I think it's the perfect pairing. I mean, you have a Kyle Shanahan and that Kyle Shanahan
I love
offense.
It's a great system.
I see. You're going to call me nuts. I don't care. All right. I could see Jimmy G putting up Matt Ryan 2016 numbers.
Hot take, real quick. Marquise Goodwin, top 10 receiver yards, more likely? Or is Jimmy G to win an MVP more likely? Top 10. So I'm not talking about top 10 fantasy points. I'm talking about yards only.
I'm going to say...
Even if he has no touchdowns
I'm going to go with your point of the top 10 yards just for the mere fact of the offense that they're in. I feel for MVP, you could still go many other ways. Still there's Brady alive. There's still, Carson Wentz.
What if Aaron Rodgers comes back to the way he knows?
Aaron Rodgers. We all know this is a quarterback-driven league, and the beauty part of our game is there's so many choices you could go.
Right. No,
Deshaun Watson.
Right.
So I feel like the point of Marquise Goodwin being a top 10 is more likely.
Right.
But Jimmy G, one day will be an MVP. Right. You heard it here.
But the problem is he won't put up the numbers that's so out of this world that I don't think his team is going to be 8-8, which you can't win. Maybe he's good enough to elevate them. I don't think they're a double-digit win team. No,
I could see them go 10-6.
They're not better than Seattle, and they're not better than the Rams. I know you're struggling. I look at that Seattle.
No. I believe you with the Rams. The Seattle, it's a toss-up for me.
Right. Well,
because Seattle, there's no Legion of Boom there. Okay. Now I'm not saying
Thomas still exists.
Right, when he wants to play, and he's not thinking about Texas.
He wants to be in.
Anyway, I feel like San Francisco and Seattle's a wash. They're pretty much the same team with a franchise quarterback, but nothing around them. I would say San Francisco's offense is a smidge better.
They've done a terrible job getting talent.
And you know why? You know what gives me San Francisco the slight edge? When they took Mr. McGlinchey in the NFL draft. McGlinchey is going to be an all-pro tackle. And I think that was a great pick out of Notre Dame. You had him and Quentin Nelson coming out. And where do you build? What do we always say?
You got to build on the line.
The quarterback and left tackle, the blind side. You have those two things, you're looking good. You're looking good. And then you start with a pass rusher, and then you go with the skill position. That's why people were going nuts that the Giants are going for Saquon Barkley with the second pick. Because that's not something that you build upon. That's kind of a win right now, 3-year window type of deal.
Right. I don't care if you have...
Mm-hmm. I love Saquon Barkley.
I don't care if you have Jim Brown, Marshall Faulk, and Adrian Peterson. If the guys can't block for him, it doesn't really matter.
I love Saquon Barkley, but could you imagine a guy like Nadeem Hines having a better season than Saquon Barkley? I mean, I know it's
not.
August.
It won't happen. That won't happen.
But I'm just saying.
In theory, because of the lines. We saw what DeMarco Murray did behind.
You had Alvin Kamara last year, and you had Kareem Hunt, guys who were in the 3rd and 4th round who got picked. And look at the numbers they put up. You had the rushing leader and the rookie of the year.
Yeah. No. I think that
and all this pressure on Saquon, I feel
he can't live up. He will automatically.
I'm not saying he's not going to be good. But I just say
if
he's even average, if he's Reggie Bush, he's a failure. Because look at all the hype around Reggie Bush when he came in.
He automatically failed expectations because the expectations of him are Adrian Peterson or Marshall Faulk or bust.
Before he even puts on the
and it's not his fault. He didn't say it. He hasn't said a word. That's just the way.
And keep this in mind, folks.
That's just the way we live in. The world we live in.
Keep this in mind, folks. Name me the last superstar Penn State player to ever be the man.
I will let
those thoughts.
Yeah, let those.
That's
thoughts
not named Terry Collins.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I'll give you Allen Robinson.
How about hey Jets fans? How about Blair Thomas? How about that bum in 1985 that the Jets took with the second pick? Bum.
Well, they've had a lot of bums since then, but
holy moly! And Kyle Brady. How about that other bum, the tight end that they took with the 8th pick over Warren Sapp? Bum.
Well, speaking of the NFC West, let's transition. Yeah, before Puma.
Now they want to know why I'm a fraud and I watch the red zone over the Jets.
Let's transition to the AFC West. Is Pat Mahomes the guy? Is he gonna make this Kansas City Chiefs that much better? Because I think. Alex Smith did a pretty good job for them, all things considered.
Yes, he did do a good job, but in the end of the day, the quarterback wins. I don't care what kind of defense you have. Look at all the years with the Packers. Look at all the years with the Colts. They always had that quarterback.
But you can't,
and you can't say that Alex Smith was bad. And he always gets that raw deal.
What
have
I said about Alex Smith?
No, he's consistent.
No. Well, what did I say? I said when the Jets had the opportunity to get him from San Francisco after Harbaugh.
Right, I would have been in the street drinking.
Right. They should have jumped. They should have ran to San Francisco and hijacked him themselves. And they let him go to Kansas City, to Andy Reid.
Right.
Now, they've been to playoff games, and the Jets continue to find their quarterback. I don't think Alex...
Until now.
Right. I hope that is the case for Jet fans.
Well, it will be.
Right. You're optimistic. I'll believe it when I see it. Because we...
Yeah. But back to Pat Mahomes. Definitely, I think he will be better than Smith. I think he is the...
Better in terms of stats or better in terms of his team will win more games? Because I think...
Both.
Okay.
I say both because he makes throws that most quarterbacks can't make. I mean, if you look at the tape...
He had a 69-yard touchdown pass the other night.
Right. I saw it at the gym. I was like, Jesus Christ. I mean, he threw it over like 7 people.
You think Tyreek Hill's going to love this? Tyreek Hill is going to be running right out of the right into the tunnel, right into the locker room.
I feel like he's throwing a javelin.
Yeah, serious. I mean, he's got a cannon of an arm. The only thing I worry about him, yes, is that Brett Favre, he might be a little reckless.
Gunslinger.
Right, and I don't...
You got to take the bad with the good.
I hate to say this, but he seems a little soft to me. Mentally. Now, not physically. Like Sam Darnold, to me, he was a former linebacker in high school, so if Sam Darnold goes out there at 0-4, I think he'll be fine. If he's not good enough, Sam Darnold, it's not going to be because
Is this because he's from the Big 12? Come on, say it. Say it.
I
know you don't like those Big 12 quarterbacks.
I don't. Give me a good Big 12
You're right, but I'm just saying, is this have hindrance on him because he's from that conference?
The last one I'll give you was Ryan Tannehill at Texas A&M.
God, another bum.
No, but seriously.
You're right. You're right.
These offenses don't work. Maybe Baker Mayfield changes, the landscape as well. But I gave you my opinion. I just gave you my opinion on Mahomes. I want to talk about the Chargers.
Right.
Do I think this is the best Charger team? Dean Annis gave us this question. How well balanced? I think realistically, I hate to say it, I think their defense is better than their offense. I think they have Bosa, Hayward,
Derwin James now.
Yeah, Derwin James, who I think is the best safety, most versatile safety.
Cam Chancellor, my comp for him in size and can come up like a linebacker.
A lot of people, as a Jet fan, you love Jamal Adams.
Oh, absolutely.
I think he's going to be better than Jamal Adams, and who is a very good player. I'm not knocking him. I just think Derwin James.
I think it's different. I mean, I could compare them both to the two Seattle safeties. One is Cam Chancellor
and Earl Thomas,
and I feel Jamal Adams is Earl Thomas.
Yeah, no, I think they're better. Are they well balanced? I think the answer is yes. This isn't the best Charger team in a while because the best Charger teams were LaDainian Tomlinson and Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates. So the answer is no to Dean Annis' question.
But I think they're very balanced.
They are, yes.
They have a pass rush.
It's a no to the first part and yes to the well-balanced part.
They're down a corner, the former TCU product in Verrett. Jason Verrett is out.
I wasn't the biggest Jason Verrett guy.
I liked him.
I think Casey Hayward is top 5 cornerback.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's very underrated.
Yeah,
very.
Right.
He shut down some guys.
Right, and it's ironic because we all heard the Jalen Ramsey GQ comment.
Yeah.
And as a cornerback, it's weird. Cornerbacks are very weird in terms of they're divas, but on defense, the quarterback doesn't have to throw the ball to that side of the field. Like we've seen Richard Sherman before just kind of follow the receiver along and not do anything. And it's because he's so good. Not because no one wants to test him.
You make a few plays and you have it. This game is all mental. If you're whoever, if you're Josh Rosen, a rookie, and you got Sherman on the other side, you're still going to respect him because in the end of the day, what's going to creep into your mind? I'm a first-year player. This guy's been doing it. One faulty pass, it could be a pick
right,
six.
And it's the Jaguars. I know we're supposed to be talking about the AFC West, and I just brought up Jalen Ramsey real quick. AJ Boye on the other side, that is the best cornerback
by far
tandem in the
other
league.
Than the Rams have Peters and
no.
No. I mean, but I would call the Rams 1-2.
Oh, Talib and Peters.
Yeah, 2.
They're 2, but I don't really think it's all that close. If this is Aqib Talib back in his Tampa Bay Buccaneer days with younger legs, I could be on board with you. This you know what the difference is? This Jacksonville team prides themselves on defense.
Jets fans,
the Rams don't pride themselves on defense. They want Goff to be the guy.
Right.
McVay wants Goff to be the guy.
Can I give you a dark horse maybe?
For what? Cornerback tandems?
Quarterback tandems?
Cornerback tandems?
Yeah,
sure.
or defensive backs in general.
Sure.
I would say the Jets. I'm not being homerish, all right?
Well, you are because the Jets stink. The Jets.
The season hasn't started, Ricky. How do they stink?
The Jets will be the worst team in the division.
The season hasn't started, bro.
All right, fine. Give me your second. Give me that second.
Can I explain? They sign a big guy in Tremaine Johnson,
who I'm a fan of.
Yeah, he used to be on the Rams, and then
I'm a fan of Jamal Adams.
Those are the two big key guys, and then you have a Mo Claiborne. I know he's not Darrelle Revis. We
gave Mo Claiborne multiple chances in Dallas, and he's let the team down.
I think he had a nice season last year. I said a dark horse. I didn't say they were in the first. I didn't say they were no fly zone. All I said was let's give him a shot. We're still on the AFC West, by the way.
Right. No, real quick before we get to Oakland and Denver, it's Claiborne and Tremaine Johnson.
Right. If we were
they're not better than Marlon Humphrey and Jimmy Smith for the Ravens combined. Now Tremaine Johnson is if I'm ranking those four, it's Tremaine Johnson 1. Jimmy Smith 1 healthy 2. Marlon Humphrey, who had a fantastic rookie season 3. And Mo Claiborne is 4. So I'd rather have 2 and 3 versus 1 and 4 because you don't have to throw the – this is what I'm talking about. Right. You don't have to throw the ball.
Well, the Ravens get the turnovers, too, with Weddle in the back there.
Right. You got Eric Weddle and Tony Jefferson, 2 of which, if you're the Chargers, thank you for letting us have Weddle. And if you're the Cardinals, thank you for letting us have Tony Jefferson.
They gave him away. But no, I'm just saying – outside the box.
Right, outside the box. But I think we could agree that it's Jacksonville and the Rams. And but the difference is Jacksonville built. Mm-hmm. The Rams went and got.
Yeah, and the Chargers are definitely there as well.
Right.
Now moving on to Oakland, we've got Chucky back in the division. Mr. John Gruden from Monday Night Football is back with the legendary franchise. Does this make a difference? Can he turn them around?
No.
No.
I don't know why
Khalil Mack is still.
Well, that's my issue. I don't know why.
I think Dean Annis thinks he's still in Largo, Florida.
Why did Dean Annis give a? I understand. The better question should have been: can Derek Carr lead them back to not this past season, but 2 years ago?
Rick, I mean, he does have the arm talent. I feel with Gruden is a quarterback whisperer. I think he could make him.
This is my problem. Forget about Carr for a minute. If we look on the other side of the ball, Khalil Mack was their defense.
Anybody.
Right. They weren't stopping anyone with Khalil Mack, realistically, but he did a nice job trying to fill multiple holes. I think they could put up the points. They remind me a lot of the 49ers. I think they could put up points, but
under our image.
But I think Garoppolo is better. I agree, but I think the weapons are better in Oakland. I think Jordy Nelson is still somewhat. Yes. Jordy Nelson right now is better than Des Bryant
because you got Lynch there too.
Right, you have Marshawn Lynch there. And
you know who's going to benefit from this offense? Lynch,
and I think Amari Cooper is going to have a better year. I don't think he's going to get back to what we first saw. But
don't laugh at me. I think Jordy Nelson's going to have a better year than Amari Cooper.
I can understand that.
When I look at Carr, call me crazy. I see a poor man's Aaron Rodgers.
No, I see a poor man's Tony Romo, but I understand where you're coming from.
The ball comes out quick.
I understand where you're coming from, and
steps up in the pocket. He could move a little.
Yeah, I just look. Forget about the defense. Forget about tactics. Forget about schemes. If for reports, and we're not out there. We're New York guys. Reports are that Gruden hasn't even spoken to Khalil Mack. Forget about whether he comes back or not, because he's losing out on a lot of money if he doesn't. Right, and the Jets have a lot of cap room.
We'll take him.
Reports are that he hasn't spoken to him. It's got to be dividing the locker room to have potentially the best defensive player there. And Gruden can't get this ship in the right direction if their best. To me, he is their most talented player on both sides of the ball if he's not there. How can you win games with the Broncos? How can you win games with the Chargers?
I think you call me crazy. I think they're the worst team in the division.
Who are we missing? Who's the fourth team in that division? Who are we missing?
Well, we just touched on Kansas City and the Chargers and Denver.
Kansas City.
Yeah.
Right.
I think they're the worst team in that division.
Right, and
even
it's
with
not
Gruden.
Right, and realistically, can I see them going 7-9? And I think Khalil Mack will be on. I think we both believe Khalil Mack
team.
at best.
500 team.
But on paper, they're the least talented.
I mean, look who they start out with, the Rams.
Right. Jesus. Well, right. That's right. You got to assume that's a loss right there.
God, Todd Gurley, if you guys
what do you think?
DFS.
Can John Gruden get him on track?
No.
No, because of the surround. Tell me why no.
No, because the game has changed. It's like saying if Bill Parcells was to come out and coach a team.
Doesn't he have he got a lot of Tom Coughlin in him.
Right.
Like a stickler.
Right.
Not a player's coach.
And that's not today's coach.
Today's coach is Sean McVay.
Today's coach is Sean McVay,
Mike
Kyle
Tomlin,
Shanahan,
Mike
Tomlin, a players guy.
Pete Carroll.
Doug Peterson. Guys like that. Andy Reid I give him credit. He's adjusted.
I was going to say he's adjusted.
Because half of the game, to be honest, how much people want to make fun of college, pro coaches are looking at college plays because that's how they're meshing the quarterbacks easier. Why do you think the quarterbacks are all of a sudden becoming so good when they used to take so long? It's because they're taking the pro style out little by little. Yeah. And a guy like Baker Mayfield is going to adjust a little bit easier because now they're going to implement those Oklahoma Lincoln Riley system. Billy O'Brien implemented some Dabo Sweeney into the Texans offense. Yeah. So just making their transition easy. You know why? Because if they're not successful, the coach is not going to be successful. And you know what? Everyone's getting fired.
Right. That's a very, very good point. I didn't think about that.
Where do we get RPO from? That was a college. That was a college play. Thing. Georgia Tech. All these other colleges, USC, Oregon Ducks.
Yeah, no, Chip
Kelly was actually, as much as you people hate him, Chip Kelly actually brought, and what Doug Peterson did was he mixed the tempo with some of the plays for Wentz to comfort him. Now, the tempo wasn't as strong as an Oregon Duck team.
Well, you can't have it be because the guys on the other side are right.
But what's his name? Lane Johnson.
Lane Johnson.
He would be the first one to tell you Kelly got him in that rhythm because
they were in better shape.
Because now when they do it, it's like easy breath for them. They're moving quick, and it's not as much as a tempo as it was, but it's still a tempo where the defense can't substitute. And the whole thing is catch the defense where they ain't. Look how many times Rodgers gets them offsides, gets a free play.
A free play, and you just throw it as far as you can.
It's about tempo, quick plays, 2-minute drill plays, catch the defense off guard, play backyard football.
So I think we're on the same page on Gruden. Step one, get Khalil Mack back.
Step one is adapting to the system. I mean, he wants to bring back the eye. I, for one, don't mind it. But
it's not going to work.
It's not going to work. I mean, that was great in 2001.
Yeah, that's just not happening
now. 12 years,
it's not going to get
too late,
done.
Dude. Now it's about...
They're in the gun with a scat back.
What is it about? Quick rhythm, empty set, get him out. Or you know what? If you're going to bring the running back in, we're going to do RPO, bring it back,
It's not even about what Gruden wants. It's partially the rules are changing that way.
Yes, and that's where I say the adaptability has to be.
Yeah, so we've got 3 teams down, 1 left.
We're getting to my Pumas' eventual division winner, the Denver Broncos.
So Mr. Nanis left us with the question, can Case Keenum make the Orange Crush relevant again? I want to say yes and no. I want to say yes because I think the Orange Crush will be relevant again. But I'm going to say it's because of their defense.
Bradley Chubb, Von Miller.
So the direct answer to the question is yes, because I think they're going to be relevant. But I say it's not primarily because of Case Keenum.
It's going to be like that 2015 season.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Where we're basically suffocating you to death. Run the ball with Royce Freeman a little bit. Make a timely throw.
And I think Case Keenum is good enough to lead that team to a Super Bowl.
I think that was one of the best free agent pickups. I think... Call me crazy.
He'll be better than Kirk Cousins, I think.
Yes, because...
Well, we've always been on the same page of Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
I think Kirk Cousins is slightly better than you think he is, but I think Kirk Cousins
That's why when the Jets fans were clamoring for him, I'm like, what are you doing? You got to allocate all this money to him.
Oh, no.
The best thing in the world is having a young quarterback that you could build around and you have cap space with. Once you put that young quarterback on that rookie deal, even though it took a while for the Jets, you put him on that deal... You could go get a Khalil Mack, like the
Le'Veon Bell.
You could go get a Le'Veon Bell. You could get these pieces.
Whoever you want to go get.
to put you over the top because Sam Darnold is costing them what, $7 million.
Right. Well, that's the thing. The quarterbacks cripple you. And as a Raven fan,
go ask the Seahawks and Joe Flacco.
Yeah, I was talking with a few of my buddies yesterday, and we were talking about the transgression because tonight is Colts Ravens, which I will be watching in a little bit. Where do I think Lamar Jackson? Because I follow the team obviously minute by minute. How do I think Lamar Jackson will be implemented? And basically, I had to admit it to myself. Joe Flacco's kind of crippled the team. I'm not going to sit here and say that Super Bowl versus the 49ers wasn't all worth it because I believe it was. Anquan Bolden, Torrey Smith, Ray Rice.
Wait, was Anquan Bolden on San Francisco?
No, he was on the Ravens at the time.
Then he went to
Yes, and then he left, and Torrey Smith.
I was confused which one it was. Yeah, because Crabtree was on the 49ers.
Right, Crabtree was on the 49ers. That's correct. Frank Gore, I believe, was there too.
Yes.
With Colin Kaepernick.
Yes.
No, I think Flacco, real quick, he just crippled them. And we talk about quarterbacks. I think Case Keenum was a great get for them. Right. And you don't want to pay these guys too much.
Yeah, and actually, to your point with the Lamar Jackson, like I said with Gruden, it's the new wave. You know, you have these young quarterbacks, dual threats, Pat Mahomes, all these dual threats that you bring the college system to the pros. The defenses are not used to it. Now, granted, they will catch up to the Wildcat. They did catch up to that. And will the defenses catch on? Absolutely. But for the time being, this is what it is. An RPO, West Coast, quick rhythm passes. And that's what catches them off guard. So moving on, Jets fans, is it Darnold time? Is it Darnold time? Is week 1 going to be the first time that he steps on the field as an NFL starter in a regular season game?
I'll let you answer your own question first. Okay. You're a Jet guy.
So you're basically asking me, would I do it?
Right. Would you do it? And because before you give your opinion, that seems to be the way it's trending.
Well, my great girlfriend of mine always says I think like a businessman. So I'm going to think like a businessman first. I do not start Darnold week 1. You know when I start him, folks? Week 2. You know why? Because I want to sell out at MetLife Stadium with the flags going, the girls with the pom-poms. I want to see it all.
Give up on, you just lose week 1?
No, I don't lose week 1. I put in McCown.
Do you start McCown?
I'm starting McCown. I'm starting a veteran starter. And I see, Detroit is very underrated defense. They get the turnovers. You got a Ziggy Ansah. You got a Darius Slay who ranked, I think, in the top 3 in turnovers last season.
Very good cornerback.
Very underrated, Darius Slay. So they get the turnovers. Do they stop people? No. But they get the turnovers. Now, a young quarterback, Monday Night Football, season opener. Do I really want to put all of that on him? If it was in New York, if it was in East Rutherford,
then you'd start
down the turnpike, I'm starting him. But you know what? I'm holding out for next week.
So that's your business, man. As a fan, are you doing the same thing? Do you want him out there week 1? Do you want him running with the ones come the third preseason?
You know what? As a fan, no. You know why? I'm very high on Darnold. I love him. But
more than I do.
But
to clarify,
like they say, history repeats itself, and I don't want to see another Sanchez debacle. He's thrown in there, but he can't do certain things. He's hamstrung. It's on Monday Night Football. No matter what you say, it's just another game. They're lying to you. All right, everyone's watching. It's the first game, 7:00. All of America's watching. We're all home. It's football. Come on. And in the visitors' environment, I don't like it. I'm starting the veteran.
So you're going to not play Bridgewater going forward.
Bridgewater, I'll keep around until the trade deadline of week 6, and then I'll try to dish him.
Right. So you'll start McCown.
Right.
So for the rest of the preseason, what's your plan for the preseason? Week 3.
Well, week 3, I'm starting Darnold.
Okay. With the ones. And he'll play about a half.
I'm playing him, the half. Coming into the third quarter, I'm going to play Teddy.
For the rest of it?
Week 4 of the preseason, I'm starting Darnold. Because
Week 4 of the preseason, you're starting Darnold?
I'm starting Darnold. And here's why. Young guys need as much reps as possible. I don't care who they are. They haven't seen the pro game.
For how long?
Oh, I'm probably doing a couple series.
And then you'll go to Teddy and Josh?
I'll go to Josh, then finish with Teddy.
You'll go Josh and then Teddy. So your week
because
1 depth chart
is
going to be Josh, Mr. Darnold,
and I'm inactive.
And
Teddy.
And you'll inactive Teddy. And you will keep him inactive, I assume, until you trade him.
Until I could get a suitor.
Okay. Anything you want to add before
I would back to your point with the week 4, you might go Puma, like why you starting all 3 of them. And the thing is, I want to get Darnold that feeling again with the reps.
Of what it's like to open up. Okay.
Listen, it's week 4, but think about it. Now the Jets have an extra day because they are starting Monday.
On a Monday.
They're not starting a Sunday like everyone else. So they got that extra day of rest. Get him some reps. I say 2 series the max. If it's 3 and out, whatever. Get some throws in there, some play action. Start it off right. Get him feeling good. Easy throws, little curls. And then we move on to McCown for the second quarter. And as soon as we come out of halftime, it's Teddy the whole way. Because while I'm playing Teddy the whole way from 3 to 4, it's also showcasing to the rest of the league. Maybe somebody gets hurt by then. Maybe, I don't know, another team that's least talented at the quarterback position says, hey, Teddy Bridgewater is sitting there. We know they're going to Darnold. It's either McCown or Darnold over there. Right. Teddy is just gravy on top. Let's give him our 3rd. Let's give him our 4th.
Right.
And I do it because what is he doing anyway?
You're probably going to hate me.
No, I mean, listen, that's what sports is.
No. You're going to, let me reiterate. You're probably going to hate my assessment.
Okay.
So I'll build up to week 1. Week 3, I'm going to start Sam Darnold.
Against the Giants.
Right. And then I'll play Teddy. Also, I'll give Darnold about a half.
So McCown, nothing.
No. I will give McCown. I'll give Darnold about a half, Teddy the 3rd, and I want Josh to play the 4th.
Okay.
So
you're playing a seasoned vet, 4th quarter of
absolutely. Oh yeah, I am.
19 years in the league, and we're playing in the 4th quarter of the preseason. Okay, but that's your okay.
Week 4. But and the reason I say that is because at that point, they're pretty much just going to be handing off the ball. I mean, we see it all the time.
Okay,
McCown might throw it 3 times.
Give it to Trenton Cannon? Yeah.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Week 4, they're all going to play about a quarter and a half, whatever it works out to be. So they're all going to play. Week 1, I'm going to start Teddy Bridgewater. And the reason – so you might not hate it. It's just different. Josh McCown will not be inactive. So I will have all 3 quarter. He will not be inactive. I will have all 3 quarterbacks. Yes.
Yeah, I just realized you're taking up a spot.
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason I do that, I personally believe Teddy Bridgewater on opening day will give you the best chance to win games. You're looking more at it of the future with Darnold. And I completely agree with you. Sam Darnold is the guy for the future. You drafted him 3rd overall. That's the way.
He's going in.
Yeah, he's going in at some point. Teddy, as I'm taking a chance, because I'm hoping he doesn't get hurt, I'm saying if Teddy Bridgewater can lead that team to, real quick before we get it, can you just pull up, you or D, can we pull up the first 6 games? Because I think 3-3, we went through it before.
Okay. So D Nanas is getting me the stats, but while he's doing that, just confirm, you want Teddy in there because is this a showcase or you think actually my Jets
both.
have a shot?
I think the Jets have a legitimate shot with Teddy to be a wild card team. But I don't believe they have that with Darnold. They might have the worst skill position group, not only in the AFC, in the entire league.
I disagree with that. So we're going to go Detroit Lions at Detroit.
Loss with Teddy. This is all with Teddy for the first 6 games.
Home with Miami.
Win.
Away in Cleveland.
Win.
At Jacksonville.
Loss.
Home with Denver.
Win.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And then home with the Colts.
So
So you have him winning
Loss.
against...
No. I'll say loss. I say Andrew Luck is healthy and he puts points on them. So I say, or maybe they beat the Colts and lose to the Broncos. I think that's a give or take.
I think that's more likely.
Sure.
But go on.
With 3-3, I think that gives you a chance. At that point, you can reassess where Darnold is. Trade Teddy for what he's worth. I think if Teddy goes 3-3 and he shows he's healthy, I think you could realistically get a first or second round pick out of him. Show me what he's got, and you're all doing this while Darnold is developing.
But at the same time, you see, this is why I try to get rid of Teddy.
Are you saying that because of the injury concern?
No, I'm saying that because I don't want New York to fall in love with Teddy before Darnold. Say he starts winning. Look at the business side of that.
What's winning? Is 3-3 winning, or the guy's 5-1 and he's lighting up New York?
I'm saying
what
anything.
Is winning?
I'm saying anything less than 4. Say he's like 4-2. Then
you keep Teddy.
Yes, but I want Darnold in there eventually.
I understand that, but it's we got to look at it like Sam Darnold. While people think he's good, we don't know what he is yet. We really don't. Like at some point, the Jets have to look at it and understand.
Right, and he's going to have his bumps and bruises.
Right, and I understand
that. He
throws
5 picks.
If that Jet team is 4-2, and we're going to assume McCown isn't starting on week 1, I think.
So you're basically using McCown as a coach. He's just there
for both of them. Why can't like everyone says he's a coach for Darnold? Why can't he be a coach for Teddy Bridgewater? What is he, incapable?
No, I like Bridgewater. I really do. I just feel Darnold is going to be better.
Right, and I understand that, but that doesn't mean he can't be better week 7.
I understand. You're in a win mode now, and I'm ready to.
And what
build.
Could you imagine Sam Darnold going into a winning situation versus a team being? I don't know. Say they get.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Like if you start him week 1. And Teddy's sitting there like, great, I'm going to go to a team that's got to be better than the team that I'm on now, assuming they're struggling. McCown's going to be coaching Darnold still, and Darnold's thrown into a fire. So
we're both on the agreement we're not starting Darnold week 1. Because
correct.
You're going Teddy, I'm going McCown.
But you're starting him because of the opening game. You're not because you don't think – that's what I don't understand. Start him week 1 or start him after Teddy – whenever you decide to trade Teddy. I don't understand why.
My whole thing is that
because the Lions' defense is going to create turnovers?
No. Also, too, is that these are the showcase games for me. The Giants, the Eagles. That's where Teddy, for me, is going to get the majority of his play. Okay. I could say, okay, I start with Darnold 1 quarter. Then we move on to forget about McCown. He doesn't even have to play.
Yeah, McCown doesn't need to play.
Let's just go right into Teddy from 2nd quarter on, and then going into the Eagle game, same sort of deal.
But what if Teddy is still continuing to?
If he's lighting up, if I'm McCagnon, I'm on the phone with whoever has a weakness at quarterback, and I'm saying, listen, I'm not going to be hasty. Give me a third.
But. What if he's?
You could get more.
What if he's? Yeah. What if he's your best quarterback?
The injury does concern me.
So that's where it lies. It's the injury. Because if you look me dead in, you can't look me dead in the face on week 1 and say
Teddy. I'm at the schedule, but
but you can't. Well, seriously, you can't sit here and decide and say Teddy Bridgewater isn't the better quarterback for the Jets week 1.
Well, we don't know that at this point.
We have to assume that, though. We have to assume that.
I feel
one guy has already played professional football at a pretty decent level, and he's doing better than the guy who'd be starting week 1 in your estimation. Or week 2. I should say week 2.
Darnold has the flash and has to make those throws. I feel Teddy makes the Alex Smith throws. Not that is bad. It's not bad.
We've seen what Alex Smith does.
Exactly. I want Darnold in there as soon as possible. Now, do I want him in there week 1 on a Monday night game? No.
Well, see, that's where you lose me. If you're telling me he's going to start week 1, he's your guy, you 3rd pick overall, fine, I'm with that. But to start Josh McCown week 1, you're essentially telling your fans we don't care about this game.
No, I'm saying I care about it. I just don't want to start our young quarterback in a rough environment.
But I've always said, start him in that game. You know why? Because he'll learn right away quickly, and he'll be thrown into the fire. Stop. Why are we giving him a pillow to land on in week 2?
That's a great assessment. That's a great assessment. And definitely...
Because it's a soft game compared to week 1. The Dolphins, week 2, right? That's
No, but the Lions is not a soft game.
No. I said the Dolphins is a soft game
the Lions,
compared to the Lions.
I'm trying to build them up to,
But if he's the guy you say he is,
right?
Then we shouldn't have to build him up.
The only problem
he's ready
I
or he's
see
not ready.
for Sam would be Jacksonville.
Well,
Denver.
that's a problem for any. That's Big Ben if that was a problem
for most people. But
right, well, we're not going to sub guys out. Oh, Teddy, we're going to Josh, we're going to let you play against Jacksonville, so Sam doesn't have to play. We're not doing that. That's my thing. Like you play him or you don't.
Okay, that's where you lie. You either play him
or
you don't.
So given that situation, you play him or you don't. What are you doing? Week 1,
giving that situation.
Right, given the situation,
I'm not playing him.
And you'll play Ted, or you'll just continue to play Josh.
Give me another week or two, but it's either going to be both of them, not Sam. It's either going to be Teddy or Josh. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
But give me another week to assess
that's
after
fine.
the Giant game.
Realistically,
there's not enough time. If gun to my head, I'm going with McCown just because he did it last year.
And I understand. And I understand with that more than like. To me, if I'm Sam Darnold, I want to be thrown into the fire. He seems like the type of kid we talked about the linebacker
sitting on the bench. Yeah.
No, well, right. Forget about what he actually wants. I'm saying throw him in there right away. Why not? It's not like the Tyrod situation.
You know what I'm afraid of? And Jets fans know, we get agita about this. You've seen Sanchez go in, get a butt kicking. You seen Geno Smith go in, you get a butt kicking. We had Hackenberg, who didn't even get off the clipboard.
You've had Bryce Petty.
Right. So we've lived
Big
through this
guy.
before. So I think for me, it's just a feeling of always being beaten up. That's what it is. I'm the kid that's been beaten up, heartbroken so many times that I'm afraid to jump out there so quickly. I want to coddle him a little bit. Now, I'm not saying that's wrong. It could go either way.
Yeah, this is all opinion. I'm not saying
it's opinion based. But just as a Jet fan being hurt so many times, I feel that it doesn't hurt to be prudent in this situation.
No, I
with
just
your future.
Right. The only point I disagree about was the week 1 thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's Darnold, McCown, which we know is not the future, and I understand Teddy's not your future either. But what if Teddy? I'd rather have could you imagine the Jets going? I know you think they can realistically go 4-2. I'm gonna say I'll be a little safer and say 3-3 or 2-4. If they're not 2-4, I'd be very shocked. They're not. They should be able to beat Miami and either the Colts or Denver. I really believe that. So I say they have at least,
they're home games,
right? Realistically, at least 2 wins. Games. I say they're 3-3, and I'm going to be. Right. I think that's a fair assessment.
I agree with you. I think that's very fair.
Right,
realistic.
I think 4-2 is really optimistic, which is possible. I think 2-4 is really underselling them, which is also realistic.
Right.
So let's just say we both agree on 3-3. If assuming Teddy's playing, and it's a risk, because what if Teddy is struggling, but they're still 3-3, and now he doesn't look as good, and you can't get as much? I understand that.
That's where I'm.
That's your right,
right.
and
I'd rather sell what I have already before he gets hurt.
So then let me ask you this: why are you even playing him the rest of the preseason at all? Because he's already shown people what he can do.
Oh, because the preseason in mind is against backups. So, okay, I'll give the perfect scenario, and it actually involves Teddy. Teddy went down.
For the Vikings.
And Sam Bradford was lighting it up for the Eagles in preseason, and they had Wentz sitting there. So you know what? Dish him off to the Vikings, and they got a first rounder. I'm not even asking for a first rounder. Throw me a third.
No, I just wanted to say, I know
right,
you're
but you see where I'm coming from.
I completely get it. I'm going to take the risk. Because
and you're not even the risk taker in this group.
Well,
because
Teddy is more of a game manager. I believe he knows he's not the future, and he is playing for another team, essentially.
Right.
I think no matter what happens, I think the Jets did a great job by getting Bridgewater to put them in this. This is a great situation for the Jets. They really can't screw it up. The only way they could screw it up is if Teddy Bridgewater gets hurt between now and the trade deadline, and it blows up in their face, and then
you're absolutely right.
and Darnold's not ready, and then you have to play McCown until you think he is.
Right.
So
moving on, we have a mailbag question. The others were related to other sports, so we wanted to keep it just football for today. Football feast. So Don from Florida wants to know, in his fantasy league, he has 3 options for his keeper dynasty So, Rick, hear this out. Deshaun Watson, but he could only pick one out of the three. Deshaun Watson, Kareem Hunt, Brandon Cooks. It's a PPR league. Where are you going?
I'm going to go Deshaun Watson. And I say that because it's a dynasty league, so that means you can continue to keep him. I'm assuming he's going to be healthy. He got hurt in practice, so it's not like it was a major collision, like it was a freak thing. I think he could be your fantasy quarterback for 10 years. I really believe that. Not necessarily with the Texans, just in general.
What Rick's saying, I totally agree with it. I feel like he could be a great dual threat like he was. I mean, you could just watch the first, 9 games? 6 games? Something like that. He was just on fire. And that kind of fantasy prowess you don't see every day. And to have a quarterback like that just separates you. You know, you have a quarterback like that, a Aaron Rodgers, a Cam Newton when he was doing his thing. Those guys separate you from the pack.
And before we finish, would we say Watson, Hunt, Cooks in that order, or would you put Cooks ahead of Hunt?
No, I would say Deshaun Watson, Hunt, and then Cooks.
Right, I think we're on the same page.
I think Cooks is just more of a boomer bust guy.
I also think
you could always redraft him.
Going to the Rams, I think actually hurts him his fantasy value.
I mean, look how many weapons in there: Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. You have Todd Gurley, and again, the same thing like Minnesota game script. The Rams are good enough where in the end of the third quarter, if they're winning, they're running that route.
There were a lot of times they were up by a bunch of points, and it was Todd Gurley. Goff was throwing screen passes.
Right, you're sitting on the couch, can he get a 10-yard out?
Right, it was right. I remember I was begging Rob Woods to have a catch. They were up 28-7. I think
at that point you're praying for reverses and stuff.
Right, exactly. So no, I just wanted. Yeah. So Don,
D Watt.
Deshaun Watson, assuming he's healthy. That's always an asterisk. But
worst case, you always got Kareem the Dream.
Right, exactly.
So, in conclusion, be sure to follow us at JFP Sports on YouTube channel. Please send us DM your questions to JFP Sports on IG, and please follow us. You'll know our upcoming shows as they are posted. So, in the words of the great Dr. Seuss, don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. Till next time.